Appointed time and we have a quorum. So I call to order the first meeting of the panel on Home Affairs for the 2019-2020 session. We now proceed to the first item, election of chairman and deputy chairman. We should observe the procedure set out in Appendix V of the House Rule in terms of election of chairman and deputy chair. And I'm chairing this meeting in accordance with Annex A and B.
好，咁咧而家進行嘅選舉咧。
So we'll start with election of chairman and deputy chairman. Would members please note that in accordance with Rule 77(6) of the ROP, any member who holds a position as chair or deputy chair of any government advisory panel directly related to the terms of reference of the panel is not allowed to be chair or deputy chair of the panel. Rule 77(7) of the ROP also provides that a member cannot be chair or deputy chair of more than one panel at the same time. In accordance with Rule 22 of the House Rules and Appendix IV relating to the election procedures, we will now proceed with election of chair and deputy chair. A valid nomination should be made orally by a member to be seconded by another member orally, and the nominee should accept the nomination before it is valid. So nominations, please. Mr. Vincent Chang. I nominate Mr. Lau Kwok-fan. Any seconder? Mr. Stephen Ho. Do you accept the nomination, Mr. Lau Kwok-fan? Yes. Any other nomination? I nominate Mr. Au Lok Him. Mr. Andrew Wen seconds. Mr. Au Lok Him, do you accept the nomination? Yes. So we have two nominations. Will there be any other nomination, please? Yes, I see that. Mr. Ted Hui. I nominate Mr. Eddie Chu. Anyone seconds? Mr. Andrew Wen seconds. Mr. Eddie Chu, do you accept the nomination? Yes. So we have three nominations. Any other nominations? Ms. Au Lok Him. I nominate Mr. Roy Kwong. Anyone seconds? Mr. Andrew Wen, please put down your hand. You cannot second that because he is chair of another panel. We don't need to ask whether he agrees to be nominated. Any other nomination? So I change my nomination to Mr. Ted Hui. Mr. Andrew Wen seconds. Mr. Ted Hui, do you accept that? Yes. So we have four nominations. Any other nomination, please? Mr. Eddie Chu. I nominate Mr. Ray Chan. Anyone seconds? Mr. Andrew Wen seconds. So who are you going to vote? Mr. Ray Chan, do you accept the nomination? Yes. So we have five nominees. Any other nomination, please? Mr. Au Lok Him. I nominate Mr. Alvin Yeung. Andrew Wen seconds, right? Mr. Alvin Yeung, do you accept the nomination? Yes. So we have 6 nominations. Any other nomination? Mr. Ted Hui. I nominate Ms. Rebecca Chan. Anyone seconds? Mr. Andrew N seconds. Ms. Rebecca Chan, do you accept the nomination? No, thank you. All right, thank you. Mr. Ted Hui. I nominate Ms. Eunice Yong. Mr. Andrew N seconds. Ms. Yong, do you accept the nomination? No. All right, thank you. Any other nominations? All right, I'll begin to count. I'll count to 3 instead of 5. 1, 2, 3. We have altogether 6 nominations for chairmanship. If there is no other nomination, we will proceed to election by way of secret ballot. Staff members will now distribute ballot papers to members attending the meeting as well as a chop. Point of order, Mr. Shu Ka-chun. Well, I think we don't need to follow the practice of other panels, but at least we should give the candidates time to introduce their platform. All right, noted.
OK 好，因為秘書處第一題。
I've just been reminded by Madam Clerk that because we have just moved on to the stage of distributing ballot papers. So I cannot just say yes to your request. I need to ask all candidates whether they agree to spend 1 minute to explain their election platform. So would 6 candidates please indicate their wish? Do you agree to have 1 minute? Or first of all, any objection to allowing candidates 1 minute each to explain their election platform? If not, then thank you for the cooperation. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to explain their election manifesto. Let's follow the order and start with Mr. Edward Lau. Thank you, Chairman. I thank member for the nomination. The Home Affairs panel is involved with a lot of matters such as building management, community affairs, and community service, etc. I have been following very closely to these issues, and I'm grateful to members' support. In the past, I was also a member of the West Kowloon Cultural District Subcommittee and also the Subcommittee relating to Asia buildings. We worked seamlessly with members across the political spectrum. So I look forward to working again with members in relation to the scope of work under the Home Affairs panel. Mr. Alokim next. First of all, I thank members for the nomination in the past year. I was deputy chair of the Home Affairs panel, and as members would know, I am quite new to this council. I hope that in the coming session we can finish the work that that is outstanding, including the public hearing in relation to sports development, which is an outstanding item from the last session. I hope this could be done. Of course, I would very much like to be involved in other work of the Home Affairs panel as much as possible, and I hope a balance could be struck no matter the political party, and I would also hope that members would express their concern on issues close to the heart. Next, Mr. Diju. Thank you. Well, in the realm of home affairs, I am particularly concerned about playground facilities for children and the provision of sports facilities in the community. The DC election will be held in November, and I believe that there will be a major change as a result of the election. Must we have a chairman from the pro-establishment camp? Since in 18 districts there will be a major change when the pro-establishment camp will no longer be the majority. Should we have continue to have pro-establishment camp member who doesn't represent the people? The Home Affairs panel is involved in different matters such as building management, community affairs, rural management, etc. The loyalists have been approving fundings and ripping off taxpayers for the sake of their own benefit. I look forward to a major reform on these matters, especially the ones I mentioned. And I'd like to have an overhaul of the declaration of interest system of members so that loyalists could no longer rip us off. A reform is necessary, and we should start with the institution. And that is why we must have the 5 demands exceeded, no more, no less, including the reform. Well, Mr. Paul Chair, point of order. Well, I already made an application to run in the DC election. Just now, a number of members also mentioned the election. I think that procedurally, since this is on webcast, I don't think it is appropriate to recite their election manifesto for the DC elections. I just want to remind them. All right, thank you. So for the remaining candidates, please note that when you speak. Mr. Ray Chen. Thank you. I am not do not run in the DC election. Home affairs involved a lot of areas, building management, sports, library, service, and I'm concerned about the arts and culture industry. In the past, we reflected the problem of lack of performance venues so that art groups would have to wait in line for years. And last year, we talked about ticket scalping, and this is very much related to insufficient performance venues. This is an outstanding issue yet to be resolved. About performance groups such as the applications for hiring venues, whether there would be any vetting mechanism, the subsidy schemes, and whether their freedom of creativity would be hampered, and also reform. These are areas close to my heart. Last one, Mr. Alvin Young. Chairman, I have not applied to run in the DC election. It doesn't mean that I'm not concerned about home affairs. The Home Affairs panel covers a very wide scope, and I am most concerned with property management or building management. A lot of resources have been deployed from the government and from taxpayers' money to handle property management. And in terms of building management related legislation, the government has not really kick-started any reform. I'd like to know the thinking of the government. So if I am elected, I think I will focus on this issue.
So the 6 candidates have spent a minute each on explaining their platform. Let's now proceed to the vote. So everyone will be handed a ballot and a stamp. So please do not leave your seat.
You
can note the candidate's number. projected on the screen. So we will be voting anonymously, so please do not display your ballot. And you also need to cast your ballot into the ballot box personally. Is there anybody present who has not received their ballot? Is there anybody who has not received a ballot? So we will stop handing out ballots, and please check your vote. We have handed out 37 ballots, so we will now collect the ballots.
Okay. Ừ. 佢又要避嫌嘅，又唔出得嚟嘅，因為佢有咁嘅原來。OK。
唔係，因為其實佢都被記咗，佢開出嚟嘅。
我都被期咗啫。OK。阿坡行咗出去喎，邊個幫你？
因為佢其實係按 panel 嚟嘅。
哦，OK，好，明白。
咁可以請定佢哋。
得，唔該晒。喂喂，係咁剛才5位。
Just now, Mr. 陳志全、許智峰、歐樂謙 and Eddie Chu, you can monitor the process.
我讀定
呢度唔該晒我哋嘅秘書同事咧，就幫手
We have to thank our secretarial staff for counting the votes. Number 2. Number 2. Number 1. Number 2. Number 2. Number 1. Number 1. Number 2. Number 1. Number 1. Number 2. Number 1. 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 Number 1.
1號
Number 1. 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 Number 2. Number 2. Number 1. Number 1. Number 1. Number 1. I see there was a fold in the ballot. Would that constitute a mark? Should that be counted as a void vote? But please be patient. I'm also returned by vote. Well, this fold is not uniform. When you cast the ballot, it was creased unintentionally, so I think this cannot be considered as a clear mark. That is my decision, and I'm showing you the ballot. Any objection? No? Then let me announce the results. Candidate number 1, Mr. Lau Guofan, has 29 votes. Candidate 2 has 8 votes. Eddie Chu has 0 votes. Hui Jifeng has 0 votes. Candidate 5, Chen Dixun, has 0 votes. Candidate 6, Alvin Young, has 0 votes. So I announce Mr. Lau Guofan received 29 votes, and he is elected chairman of the Home Affairs panel for this year. So the ballots will be destroyed after the meeting. So Mr. Lau Guofan, could you step up and chair the meeting? Okay. Thank you, colleagues. We have 5 minutes to elect the deputy chairman. So we will proceed. We will now proceed with the 2019-2020 election of the deputy chairman. We need oral nomination and at least a second by another member. So let's start the nomination. Mr. Hui Jifeng, I nominate Au Lok Kim. Anyone seconding that? Wan Siu Kin seconds. Au Lok Kim, do you accept? I accept. Any other nominations? On the count of 3, I announce Mr. Au Lok Kim returned automatically as Deputy Chairman of the Home Affairs Panel. So the agenda item is about meeting dates. In the past, it was held on the fourth Monday of every month at 8:30. But according to past experience, that is not an ideal time slot. There have been suggestions that we choose other times. So I'd like to consult with members whether we should change the time to 4:30 on every second Monday, because some members have said it was too early. So we will now choose the second Monday of every month at 4:30. Now next month, 8:30, we'll have to change that. We had scheduled 25th of November. So that is the day after election. And now we're changing it to 4:30 on every second Monday of the month. We hope more members can attend. I also want to remind you of the dates. The meetings in March. Our regular meeting in March will be rescheduled. You can consider 23rd of March, Monday, 8:30. And in April, on the 13th of April, we have Easter. So we'll change it to 4:30 on the 14th of April. If there are no suggestions, we'll endorse it. So I'll announce the next meeting agenda. Our matters arising will include a policy briefing on the 4th of November, Monday, 4:30 till 6:30. We will hear the Home Affairs Bureau Secretary talk about the policy address, contents regarding home affairs, and we will be discussing 2 items. targeting ticket scalping and the community care fund. So we will be handling these two topics, and we will also have a discussion with Deputy Chairman regarding topics related to home affairs, and we also have monitoring of West Kowloon Cultural District. We have been notified in 2019-20 this committee will continue its work. We also have a joint group following up building renovation. They will continue operation, and I believe we can commence the meetings in March. The secretary will also will issue invitations for members to join the two joint groups, unless you wish to exit these groups. Otherwise, you will continue to receive invitations.
These members will automatically be members of these subcommittees, and at the first meeting, the subcommittees will decide whether it will be necessary to elect chairman and deputy chair again. If there is no other AOB, meetings adjourned.